16 Everyone's a liar. In Red Leaf Town's noisy plaza, flashes of white light appeared. Following which, figures of players appeared, one by one. These players were the revived members of Shadow. These people had down and extremely depressed expressions on their faces. Nothing could beat the pain and entangled feeling of having recently gained something, then losing it again. Just a moment ago, they were still dreaming of becoming the tyrants of Red Leaf Town. Their levels were increasing, it was like flying. In the next second, however, they died. Not only had their levels and skill proficiency decreased, but the experience they had at level 1 was also lower than before. They were much worse off compared to the average player. Flaming Tiger's expression after reviving was even more livid. His eyes alone could eat a person alive. System, player Ye Feng has killed you. You will be revived in Red Leaf Town after 3 seconds. At the same time, you will lose 1 level, and all your skill proficiencies will be reduced by 100 points. Ye Feng. I will not let you off. I will definitely make you wish for death. Flaming Tiger let out an angry bellow after looking at the numbers displayed by the system. His actions had caused the other players to quickly avoid him, not daring to look at this madman. After venting for a while, Flaming Tiger ordered the other members of Shadow to check their bags, checking for the items they dropped. Although this death caused great losses for everyone, there wasn't just the EXP gained from killing kobolds. There was also loot, this was also the only thing they could be happy about. At the very least, they did not busy themselves for nothing. When Flaming Tiger took a look into his bag, a sweet taste suddenly entered his throat, he spat out a mouthful of blood. At once. Immediately. We head for Dark Moon Valley, now. I must kill that kid. Flaming Tigers bellowed, his anger reaching up to the skies. The skill book that he planned on using to ridicule Shi Feng was gone. It was an extremely rare skill for swordsmen, and it was also the most valuable item they got from grinding kobolds. Now, it was gone. However, the most unforgivable thing was that the skill book had fallen into Shi Feng's hands. In the end, all of Flaming Tiger's efforts had become Shi Feng's gains. This was something that he would not tolerate. His hatred was something that could not be resolved, even if he were to kill Shi Feng back to level 0. The other members of Shadow did not understand what had happened to Flaming Tiger. Going to search for Shi Feng right now was just a futile effort. Nobody would be foolish enough to wait for them to take revenge. Shi Feng would definitely slip away, snickering at them in some other place. At this moment, Flaming Tiger's system communication rang. Who is it? Disturbing me at this time, are you trying to die? Flaming Tiger cursed after the call connected. Flaming Tiger, your temper sure has grown after not meeting for a day. The voice on the other side was ice cold, as if in a furious rage. Flaming Tiger felt the familiarity of that voice. When he found the corresponding identity to the voice, his face suddenly turned extremely ugly. Brother Zhang, it is you. I'm currently educating my subordinates. I never thought Brother Zhang would contact me. Brother Zhang, please don't mind it. I wasn't speaking about you just now. Enough. I already know about your problem. Just looking at the damage you've caused towards Shadow's development in Red Leaf Town, looking at what the good you've done has accomplished towards Shadow's development in Red Leaf Town, I'll come to you immediately. From now onwards, you don't have to continue being Red Leaf Town's team leader. Silent Rain, the team's elementalist, will take over temporarily. If you're still not level 2 by the time I arrive in Red Leaf Town, then you can just get lost. Shadow doesn't need garbage. Flaming Tiger became spiritless after hearing these words. His hatred for Shi Feng would never be washed away, even by the 5 lakes and 4 seas. Meanwhile, in Dark Moon Valley, Shi Feng and Blackie were picking up the drops from the members of Shadow. Shi Feng was currently holding the skill book dropped by Flaming Tiger. Flaming Tiger really is too generous. He had even left me such an item. Shi Feng chose to learn the skill without hesitation. Wind Blade, Action Type. Requires, Sword. Level 1. Proficiency 0/300. Ambush an enemy outside 5 yards and within 30 yards. Movement speed will be increased by 40% when rushing towards the target and attack speed increased by 20% for 3 seconds. Cooldown, 25 seconds. A swordsman mobility would be greatly increased with this skill. It was a great counter to rangers and mages who love to kite. Brother Feng, the meteorite ore we need are all here. There are also quite a few bronze ore. Shadow really helped us big this time. Blackie laughed loudly. As he was collecting the ore from the ground, he noticed a piece of dark green ore. Picking it up, he asked, Brother Feng, what is this star crystal? When Shi Feng heard about the star crystal, he ignored the meteorite ore below his feet, instantly turning around and running towards Blackie. Damn, it really is a star crystal. Blackie, your luck is really too good. You even picked up such a thing. Shi Feng said excitedly as he carefully looked at the dark green ore after receiving it. Every monster in the world had a chance of dropping a star crystal. The chances were 1,000,000 to 1. Maybe it was trash to other people, but to Shi Feng, it was a priceless treasure. It was also the thing he needed the most. Brother Feng, what is this star crystal for? Blackie curiously asked. Shi Feng was usually calm and indifferent. Such an excited reaction from him displayed the preciousness of the star crystal. It's for eating, but not for players. Shi Feng smiled slightly but did not continue explaining as he kept the star crystal. It's for eating. Blackie was slightly confused. Who would eat a rock? However, Shi Feng must have his own reasons for not explaining, so Blackie did not continue asking about it. A moment later, all the drops were collected. They had received a total of 14 pieces of meteorite ore, and 32 pieces of bronze ore. Not only had they completed Shi Feng's quest, they even had some leftovers. Subsequently, the two of them arrived at the smithy. Master Jack, I have collected the meteorite ore you asked for. Shi Feng handed over all of the meteorite ore, not leaving even one behind. These were all quest items. A stack of them would only sell for 1 copper to an NPC. It was utterly worthless. Not bad, young man. However, if you wish to become an outstanding forger, you still need to have enough strength to obtain precious ore. There is a powerful kobold chieftain. Go kill it to prove your strength. Master Jack said eloquently as he stored away the meteorite ore. System, Hidden Quest Road of Forging. Kill the kobold chieftain inside Crimson Star Mine. Time limit of 1 hour. When Shi Feng saw that there was still a second stage to the quest, Shi Feng wished he could curse hammer trading. He had caused Shi Feng big trouble this time. As expected, everybody would have kept something to themselves. Nobody could be trusted. Everyone's a liar. In Shi Feng's previous life, hammer trading had not mentioned a second stage of the quest. Now a second stage, time-limited quest had appeared. It was even against a chieftain monster. That wasn't an elite monster you simply run across. A chieftain was even stronger than a special elite. It was the equivalent of a dungeon's boss. Shi Feng was just level 3, and a leader monster was just too deadly to him. In Shi Feng's previous life, hammer trading was level 16 when he accepted the quest. Completing the quest was extremely easy. Forget it, let's have a look at it first. He could do nothing about being tricked. However, Shi Feng did not plan to give up. The forging talent had too great of a use, and Shi Feng must learn it. Following which, Shi Feng and Blackie cleared the way of kobolds as they headed towards the deeper parts of the Crimson Star Mine. Compared to the kobolds at the entrance, the kobolds inside were no longer level 4, they were level 5. They took more time and energy to kill. Often, another kobold would respawn before one was killed. If there weren't enough black steel beer to reduce the kobold's level by 2, then Shi Feng and Blackie's killing speed would be completely unable to keep up with the respawn rate. Half an hour later, Shi Feng and Blackie arrived at the deepest part of the Crimson Star Mine. It was a large piece of empty land. There were over 10 kobolds mining for ore in the surroundings. There was a huge figure standing in the center of the empty area. It was a kobold that wore armor, and it was constantly giving out commands to the other kobolds. Kobold Chieftain, Chieftain rank. Level 5. HP 2100/2100. Just its HP alone could cause a person despair, not to mention the heavy armor worn on the Kobold Chieftain, its defense was definitely high. It was nearly impossible for physical type attacks to cause a lot of damage. Moreover, Chieftain rank monsters had a recovery speed of 2% HP every 5 seconds when in battle. That meant the Kobold Chieftain would recover 42 HP every 5 seconds. It was not a number to look down upon. An average level 5 player with physical type damage might not even be able to deal 42 damage within 5 seconds. As for using the smoke bombs to kill the Kobold Chieftain safely, that was completely impossible. A Chieftain monster's range of vision was extremely wide. Even a Kobold would have a vision range of 55 yards. Using the smoke bomb to reduce its vision by 10 yards would still leave it with 45 yards. Even for rangers, who had the furthest firing range of 40 yards, it was not enough. Shi Feng thought through it again and again as he looked at the Kobold Chieftain before him, helplessly laughing, do I really have to use that? 17 Magic Weapon released, Famed Swordsman born. Brother Feng, can we really beat this Kobold Chieftain? Blackie had not an ounce of confidence in him when he looked at the Kobold Chieftain. Ignoring its horrifying amount of HP, the giant axe on its back was enough to terrify someone. If Blackie were hit with that axe, he would definitely turn into meat paste within an instant. I don't know. Shi Feng shook his head. Plans can never keep up with change. There was not a single terrain within the mine that could be used. They could only fight the Kobold Chieftain head-on if they wanted to kill it. The Kobold Chieftain was the most powerful monster Shi Feng had met up with to this point. If he had enough time, Shi Feng would come here when he was level 5, with a full body of bronze equipment. He would have an 80% chance by then. However, there was little left of the time that Forging Master Jack gave him. If he wanted to finish the battle within the 20 minutes remaining, then he would need to send out a small party of level 5 elites to do so. However, there were only 2 of them. Their equipment was also poor. Trying to kill the Kobold Chieftain within 20 minutes was utterly impossible. However, there would be dire consequences if the quest was not finished. There was only one chance to do this hidden quest. If it failed, Shi Feng would not be able to receive it ever again. Thus, Shi Feng was even more unwilling to give up this quest. I can only try it. Shi Feng unwillingly took out the magic weapon, Abyssal Blade. In his previous life, the number of magic weapons Shi Feng had personally witnessed could be counted on his fingers. Anybody who had seen a magic weapon's power would be brought to submission by it. Whereas, those who could properly wield a magic weapon was as rare as a phoenix's feather. Crimson War God was one such person. He had grown to fame within a guild war that had involved over 100,000 people. During that war, Crimson War God held a bloodied magic weapon, the Crimson Ghost Axe. He rushed into groups of thousands of warriors with the axe and slaughtered. There was no one who could block his giant axe. In the end, the enemy guild was forced to retreat in embarrassment. Crimson War God had created the scene of one man defending against 10,000. After that war, he built up the glorious War God Empire. There was also the madman, Wind Chaser. He held the magic weapon, Evil Spirit's Roar. With only the bow in hand, Wind Chaser had single-handedly defended a city. Of the thousands of enemy players, not one of them could enter within 100 yards of the city. Using a single arrow, Wind Chaser had even sniped Outstandingly Extraordinary, the guild leader of Imposing Expert. Outstandingly Extraordinary had been standing further than 100 yards from the city at that time. As long as they were a magic weapon user, then they would be famous, top-tier experts in God's domain that were respected by all. System, do you wish to bind the Abyssal Blade? Shi Feng sucked in a deep breath, choosing to bind. He did not care any more about the backlash of the magic weapon. Since those people could control the magic weapons, then how could he, as a reincarnated person, lose to those newbies that had yet to grow up? The moment the binding was finished, Shi Feng could clearly feel his entire body's strength being sapped away. His levels, as well, dropped one after the other, becoming level 0 within an instant. In another moment, however, a force of strength started flowing through his body. His body's current constitution was even stronger than when he was level 3. When he checked the Abyssal Blade attributes, Shi Feng became even more shocked. Abyssal Blade, magic weapon, one-handed sword. Attack power 24. All attributes plus 10. Attack speed plus 3. Ignore monsters level by 5. Attacks have a 15% chance to cause 2x damage, 10% chance to induce Doom Curse, reducing all stats by 30%, lasting 20 seconds. If wielder belongs to any swordsman job, all skill levels plus 2. Increase free ability points received by 2 points for every increase in level. Equipment level 0. Can be leveled up. Devour 10 level 5 bronze equipment and 1 level 5 mysterious iron equipment to level up to level 5. Can be evolved, unknown. Additional skill 1, Phantom Kill. Instantly creates a doppelganger. You can control this doppelganger. Doppelganger will have 50% of original body's attributes and all skills. At the same time, doppelganger and the original body can be swapped. Duration of 30 seconds. Cooldown, 5 minutes. Additional skill 2, Abyssal Bind. Binds enemies and prevents movement, reducing defense by 100%. Duration of 3 seconds. Cooldown, 1 minute. Additional skill 3, 9 Dragon Slash. Instantly create 9 phantoms of the Abyssal Blade for the wielder to use. Each phantom sword is capable of dealing up to 30% damage. Duration of 20 seconds. Cooldown, 5 minutes. The Abyssal Blade was personally created by Master Smith Ulysses, using the Black Dragon King's fangs as material. It is one of 36 famed swords, and it is ranked 31st. However, this sword has been cursed by the Black Dragon King. Aside from being able to provide the wielder with immense strength, there would be a backlash after a certain period of time. If the wielder is unable to suppress the backlash, the wielder will receive the curse of the Black Dragon King, permanently reducing all attributes by 50%. Unable to be dropped. Unable to be traded. Seeing such attributes and these many additional skills, the Abyssal Blade was no different than a god's weapon. However, there were still 35 of these famed swords, and the Abyssal Blade was just one of the lower ranked ones. It was hard to imagine what kind of sword the first ranked was. Brother Feng, please don't scare me. How did you become level 0? Glancing at Shi Feng from the side, Blackie became shocked. It had already been troublesome just facing the Kobold Chieftain. Now that Shi Feng had fallen back to level 0, how could they fight it? Relax. Use the smoke bombs to clear off the small mobs first. Leave the Kobold Chieftain to me. Shi Feng called up the attribute panel, placing all 6 free attribute points into agility. His agility had reached 20 points exactly, activating fast and nimble. Shi Feng was very eager to test his sword on the Kobold Chieftain. Character, Ye Feng, Human. Affiliated Kingdom, Star Moon. Title, Might of 1000. Job, Swordsman. Level, 0. HP, 460/460. Attack Power, 72. Defense, 4. Attack Speed, 10. Movement Speed, 8. Attributes, Strength 24, Agility 20, Endurance 22, Intelligence 13, Vitality 13. System, Strength has reached 20 points. Activating Hidden Basic Skill, Smashing Fists. Able to destroy trash weapons with bare hands. System, Endurance has reached 20 points. Activating Hidden Basic Skill, Robust Physique. Along with the activation of the hidden basic skills for strength and endurance, Shi Feng could now utilize the full potential of his current body. He was no longer a 3-second hero. Although he was level 0, his current attack power and attributes were far above that of when he was level 3. His HP was even more awesome. It wasn't any worse than a level 5 shield warrior's HP. Not to mention Shi Feng still had a bunch of high-level skills. He could definitely fight it out with the Kobold Chieftain. While Shi Feng was getting used to his body, Blackie had cleared all of the kobolds in the surrounding areas, leaving behind only the Kobold Chieftain. Wait for me to pull aggro, then you can start madly attacking. Shi Feng instructed. Taking a step forward, Shi Feng rushed towards the Kobold Chieftain. Wind Blade. In the blink of an eye, Shi Feng had arrived in front of the Kobold Chieftain. The Kobold Chieftain had yet to react before 2 streaks of black light slashed at its neck. Suddenly, blood splashed from its neck, causing the Kobold Chieftain to scream in pain. 2 frightening damages appeared above its head. -63, -128. The Kobold Chieftain finally reacted. However, just as it lifted its giant axe, another sword flash passed through an unprotected area of its body. Chop. Another -105 damage appeared on the Kobold Chieftain. The power of a level 4 chop was shocking. When the giant axe landed on the ground, it created a large crater. However, Shi Feng had long since retreated and followed up by using a level 4 thundering flash. 3 streaks of violent thunder passed through the Kobold Chieftain's gigantic body, creating damages of -84, -101, -123. Shi Feng had taken over 600 HP away from the Kobold Chieftain after just a single exchange. The might of the famed sword, the Abyssal Blade even shocked Shi Feng himself. Blackie, who stood a distance away, was even more dumbfounded. 18-9 Dragon Slash. The Kobold Chieftain became enraged when he was dealt the heavy damage by Shi Feng's surprise attack. The blood that leaked from its wound became its stimulant. The Kobold Chieftain raised its giant axe, bombarding Shi Feng with one attack after another. The Kobold Chieftain could not react appropriately towards Shi Feng's previous surprise attack. It could only instinctively attack, so its attacks were aggressive. Against the wild attacks of the Kobold Chieftain, even a level 5 shield warrior or guardian knight would die within an instant. Shi Feng could only retreat under such intense attacks. He did not have any chance to retaliate. He also needed to dodge the incoming rebel the size of fists. If they hit him, it would cause quite an amount of damage. A man and a beast exchanged moves at high speeds. If it were an average man, he most likely would not be able to make a single move. He would be halved by the giant axe, becoming very much dead. Blackie, hurry and attack it. I can't hold on for much longer. Shi Feng had been dodging for a whole 7 or 8 seconds now. When he saw Blackie, having yet to attack, he shouted loudly. They were currently facing a chieftain boss, not a little elite. The attack patterns of a chieftain boss were not as monotonous as an elite's, it had a variety of attacks. The chieftain boss was a monster that possessed intelligence. It would even change its attack pattern for specific players. Couple that with a strength that was 2 to 3 times that of a normal elite, the chieftain boss was stronger than an elite by at least 4 times. Although Shi Feng had only exchanged blows with the Kobold Chieftain for 7 or 8 seconds, it felt like several minutes had gone by. Just from blocking attacks and the occasional counter-attack had already taken over 100 HP from Shi Feng. If this situation continued, it wouldn't be long before his HP reached 0. With the famed sword, Abyssal Blade, Shi Feng's attributes were greatly increased. It allowed 3 hidden basic skills that were most important to a melee player to be activated. With these skills, Shi Feng was able to exhibit extraordinary attacks and dodges continuously. If he did not possess the Abyssal Blade, Shi Feng would have died long ago. Ah, I'll come help you, Brother Feng. Blackie realized his mistake as he finally reacted. He hurriedly waved his staff, his mouth chanting a curse. After aiming at the Kobold Chieftain, he shot a dark arrow. The dark arrow landed on the Kobold Chieftain's body, only dealing 17 points of damage. Blackie's mouth became wide open after seeing this damage. He couldn't help becoming astonished by a chieftain monster's defense. Blackie could cause over 50 damage if he attacked a level 5 monster, however, it was only a third of that amount now. It could be seen how shocking a chieftain monster's defense was. On the other hand, Shi Feng could deal over 100 damage in a hit. What kind of attack power was that? Shi Feng abruptly slashed the abyssal blade in mid-battle. Chop! A black light dug itself through a gap in the kobold chieftain's attack. Pang! Shi Feng took 3 steps backward before stabilizing his body, over 30 damage appearing above his head. On the other hand, only the kobold chieftain's giant axe was pushed back, pausing slightly in midair. It worked. It seems like my strength is just barely enough. Shi Feng was very satisfied with the attack this time. During battles within God's domain, not only could players defend and dodge, but they could also interrupt a monster's attack. This would cause the monster's attack to stop briefly, ending the monster's offensive. It was a high-leveled battle technique. Such techniques only started becoming popular half a year after God's domain's opening, especially in boss battles. If the MT, main tank, did not learn such techniques, the end result would be a party wipe. This was because there were no players capable of blocking a boss crazed and continuous attacks. The kobold chieftain's momentary pause had caused it to reveal a weak point. Shi Feng rushed in without hesitation. Gathering all his strength into his hand, Shi Feng gripped the abyssal blade tightly and continuously struck the kobold chieftain. 4 streaks of sword light hit the unarmored parts of the kobold chieftain. With the damage amplification effect, Shi Feng's attack instantly took to 300 HP away from the kobold chieftain. Adding in Blackie's attack, the kobold chieftain only had little over 900 HP remaining. Ayo! 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 The kobold chieftain started going into a frenzy. It threw its giant axe to a side, pulling out 2 machetes from its waist. The change in weapons caused the kobold chieftain's attack patterns to change. If the kobold chieftain was a berserker when he held the giant axe, then after wielding the pair of blades, the kobold chieftain was a dual-wielding swordsman. The kobold chieftain now combined strength with agility, no longer just using violence to oppress its opponent. The attack pattern of the pair of blades was no longer monotonous. The kobold chieftain's attack speed had a large increase as well. Just after Shi Feng dodged one of the blades, the other came following behind. Shi Feng hurriedly used the abyssal blade to block it. Dazzling sparks were created when the blade and sword intersected with each other. Shi Feng's entire person was sent flying away. When Shi Feng was still in midair, he saw the kobold chieftain leaping with all its might, its machete raised high for a frontal assault. Is it going all out? Shi Feng was shocked, hurriedly using parry. Hong! The abyssal blade blocked the machete. However, Shi Feng was like a meteorite as he fell heavily to the ground. Shi Feng had thought the kobold chieftain's attack to be over. However, as it fell from the sky, its twin blades plunged downwards as well, with Shi Feng's chest as their target. Shi Feng was unable to move to dodge the attack. Phantom kill. Instantly, a doppelganger of Shi Feng appeared 3 yards away from him. With lightning speed, Shi Feng swapped places with his doppelganger. When the kobold chieftain landed, both its blades stabbed into the doppelganger's chest. The doppelganger's HP madly fell, over 300 HP disappearing within an instant. Just as the kobold chieftain revealed an excited smile, Shi Feng appeared behind its back. The abyssal blade in his hand was also letting out a faint black glow. 9 Dragon Slash. 9 phantoms of the abyssal blade appeared, silently floating in midair and circling Shi Feng. Although Shi Feng could not completely control all 9 swords, using the 9 of them for a simple attack was not a problem. Shas Hasha. 9 abyssal blades danced as if they were playful sprites, continuously penetrating the kobold chieftain's body. Small values that were just over -10 continuously appeared on the kobold chieftain's head. Although the damage was very low, the quantity was high. Including Shi Feng's chop and normal attacks, the kobold chieftain's HP fell close to 500 HP. Seeing the kobold chieftain wanting to turn around, Shi Feng did not dare give it any chance for a counterattack. Immediately, Shi Feng used Abyssal Bind. The kobold chieftain could not move for 3 seconds, and its defense was reduced by 100%. In a battle, where even blinking would get you killed, 3 seconds was enough to change the results. The kobold chieftain could not move after being bound by the pitch-black chains which came from the abyssal blade. The 9 abyssal blades continued attacking without stop, creating damages of over -20 with each hit. The kobold chieftain's HP madly fell, leaving it with only around 200 HP within a moment. Awoo! The kobold chieftain bellowed as it became thoroughly berserk, its body size becoming 2 folds larger. Shi Feng watched as the 3 seconds passed by. The kobold chieftain's strength was no joke after becoming completely berserk. Its strength had increased by at least 30%. However, all of Shi Feng's attacks and life-saving skills were still on cooldown. As if having seen through Shi Feng's distress, the kobold chieftain's face revealed a mocking expression. Two large blades came crashing towards Shi Feng, their speeds like that of flying arrows. At the moment of life and death, Shi Feng noticed a kobold miner respawning from the corner of his eyes. Immediately, Shi Feng activated gravity liberation, followed by wind blade. With lightning speed, Shi Feng dodged the chop from the twin blades and rushed towards the kobold miner's front. Ao! 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 When the kobold chieftain saw the near-death Shi Feng actually dodging its attack, its strong legs abruptly stomped on the ground, pushing it straight towards Shi Feng. Blackie felt chills down his back as he watched Shi Feng fighting. Regardless, his mouth never stopped chanting curses, sending out one dark arrow after another. However, the kobold chieftain's speed was too fast, trying to hit it was just too hard. Fortunately, there was more than a 20-yard distance between the kobold chieftain and Shi Feng. The kobold chieftain would still need some time to catch up to Shi Feng. Within this period, Shi Feng might even be able to kill off the kobold chieftain with the 9 phantoms of the abyssal blade. However, both Shi Feng and Blackie had underestimated the kobold chieftain's explosive strength. Not only were its strength and defense greatly increased, even its agility had a great increase. It only took 2 seconds for the kobold chieftain to reach over 20 yards. The kobold chieftain lifted its twin blades, strongly slashing it down. The kobold miner in front of Shi Feng was split into 2, and a rain of blood fell 5 yards around it. This slash had closely brushed past Shi Feng's cheek, nearly taking his life away. Seeing the kobold chieftain preparing to slash down its other blade, Shi Feng strongly raised the abyssal blade in his hand. 3 streaks of thunder penetrated the kobold chieftain's body, taking away its last remaining 130 HP. Seeing the kobold chieftain finally fall, Shi Feng let loose a breath of relief. The chieftain monster is truly too strong. Even if Shi Feng came here at level 5 fully equipped with bronze equipment, he would still be a goner. He could only kill it due to luck. Compared to a level 2 Thundering Flash, the level 4 Thundering Flash only had a cooldown of 24 seconds. The cooldown had finished just in time, allowing Shi Feng to escape death. System, level 5 Kobold Chieftain killed. Level difference of 5. EXP obtained increased by 500%. Obtained 2350 EXP. Shi Feng immediately rose to 76% of level 1. System, congratulations for becoming the first player to kill a chieftain monster. Kobold Chieftain's item drop increased by 200%. Reputation in Star Moon Kingdom increased by 10 points. Suddenly, the Kobold Chieftain's body started expanding. Its size continued increasing until its body exploded with a boom, scattering a pile of items all over the floor. 19 Evil Whip. When the Kobold Chieftain exploded, items scattered all over the floor. Copper coins paved the floor as well in a copper glow, shining through the entire mine as if celebrating Shi Feng's success. At the moment, Blackie sat paralyzed on the ground, cold sweat pervading his entire body. It was as if all of his strength was sapped out from his body, he could not care less about the drops on the ground. This battle was truly difficult. There was no time to even take a breath, every minute and every second were a soul-shocking moment that stimulated the eyes. Every moment of the battle just toyed with Blackie's heart. He would not be able to take it at all if he did not have a strong heart. As for Shi Feng, who could battle against the Kobold Chieftain head-on, what kind of heart did he possess? This is too great. We won, Brother Feng. You really are my idol. Blackie loudly shouted in extreme excitement. Seeing Shi Feng's calm face, Blackie was filled with respect for him. Although Shi Feng's former strength was quite good, surpassing many average players, he was still just an average professional player. Shi Feng's skill had never been out of reach for Blackie. Shi Feng had been previously quick to get excited. He would even get into an endless conflict over a piece of common equipment as if he was an unsheathed blade. However, the current Shi Feng was hugely different than before, it was as if he became a different person. The present Shi Feng was extremely calm and did things without hesitation. He gave off a certain serenity that resembled that of a dormant dragon. He did not do anything outstanding normally, yet when he did, it would shock the world. Blackie, wasn't your idol Gentle Snow? Shi Feng slightly smiled as he said so. Of course Gentle Snow is my idol. However, you're awesome as well, Brother Feng. Usually, you keep quiet without revealing anything, but now that you've shown it, even such a powerful Kobold Chieftain was done in by you. Not even a true professional gamer could compare to you, so how could I not admire you? As they said, the shade is better under a large tree. Brother Feng, you should teach me how to play a curse mancer. Even in my dreams, I've dreamt of becoming a professional gamer. In Blackie's eyes, Shi Feng was just like a mountain of gold. He was glad for the choice he had previously made. If he had gone to Shadow Workshop, he would probably still be a nameless gold farming member. He wouldn't even have the chance to meet an expert, forget about becoming a real expert. Alright. Shi Feng smiled. Blackie's character was just so straightforward. When Shi Feng was fired in his previous life, Blackie had resigned as well, without hesitation. Blackie had given up a job with an annual income of millions just to share the suffering together with him. Naturally, Shi Feng wouldn't betray Blackie, he would teach Blackie whatever he could. Although Shi Feng had not played a curse mancer before, he had still observed plenty of expert curse mancers. Shi Feng knew the general direction to develop a curse mancer, and it was more than enough to give pointers to Blackie. Brother Feng, how do you think I should place my points early on? Do I go full intelligence? Blackie asked. Shi Feng shook his head, saying after some thought, although it isn't bad to go full intelligence during the beginning periods, agility is a must if you wish to become a powerful curse mancer. Aside from just increasing your movement speed, agility can also increase your casting speed. Curse mancers have very few life-saving skills, are slow runners, and have many skills that require chanting. A curse mancer's spells are also weak in power. They mainly rely on curses to deal damage. However, unlike elementalists, who are literal cannons, time is required for a curse mancer to unleash that damage fully. Hence, after adding intelligence up to 20 points, you should place half of your free ability points into agility. This will ensure your safety as well as allow you deal more damage. In Shi Feng's previous life, there was an extremely powerful curse mancer. That person had broken the traditional point allocation method of a curse mancer by adding a large amount of agility. Not only could he deal damage both quickly and fiercely, but he was even more powerful in PK. He had destroyed assassins that were counters to mages. Even in death, those assassins had not landed a single hit on that curse mancer, breaking the law that stated mages would die if they were closed in by a melee player. After that incident, many curse mancers had started adding agility, causing assassins to be endlessly depressed as they became bullied constantly by curse mancers. Blackie nodded his head. He felt that Shi Feng's words made sense, saying with a smile, "All right then. After my intelligence reaches 20 points, I'll go full agility." After finished discussing how to add points for a curse mancer, Shi Feng and Blackie started picking up the drops. The Kobold Chieftain deserved to be a chieftain-ranked monster. Adding on that it was the first kill, its drops were extremely bountiful. It had dropped a total of 8 pieces of bronze equipment, 1 grey giant axe, 2 plate armor, 2 leather armor, 3 cloth armor. Aside from those, there were also 273 coppers and 3 skill books. There was Mach for shield warriors, silent steps for assassins, and evil whip for curse mancers. Blackie, your luck really is too good. This evil whip skill book is rare with an extremely low drop rate. It is also one of the few control and damage skills that a curse mancer has. As long as the skills level is high, it will become a godly skill for grinding monsters. Shi Feng tossed the evil whip skill book to Blackie without hesitation. He also gave 2 of the level 2 cloth armor to Blackie. Evil whip. Cast time 3 seconds. Use 5 thorns to bind a target in a fixed area. As long as the target exits the area and breaks the thorns, every thorn will cause a base damage of 20 points, with an additional 30% spell damage. Cooldown, 20 seconds. Blackie became ecstatic when he saw the skill, learning it quickly. With this skill, his battle standards would be increased by a big leap. After he switched to the 2 pieces of equipment, it was as if he turned from an air gun into an artillery cannon. Blackie's intelligence increased to 20 points, increasing his spell damage to 48, and also activating the hidden basic skill for intelligence, Rapid Cast. Rapid Cast allows the player to skip the chance of spells that are below 1.5 seconds, requiring only action to cast it. Also, allows the caster to better focus on attacking their target. As for the 2 pieces of plate armor, they were the recruit's heavy armor, and black steel armguard. However, amongst these pieces of bronze equipment, Shi Feng only fancied the black steel armguard's attributes. Black steel armguard, bronze rank, plate armor. Level 3. Equipment requirements, Strength 9. Defense plus 14. Strength plus 2, Endurance plus 2, Agility plus 1. Durability 20/20ths. The recruit's heavy armor was just mediocre. The level 5 recruit's heavy armor could not compare to the sky armor at all. However, plate armors were still precious, so it could be sold for a good price. The 2 pieces of level 3 bronze leather armor could be sold as well. Amongst these pieces of equipment, the most valuable one was the grey giant axe. It was definitely the darling of berserkers. Grey giant axe, bronze rank. Level 5. Equipment requirements, Strength 15. Attack power plus 21. Strength plus 5, Endurance plus 2. Durability 30/30ths. It was the absolute weapon for violence. If a berserker got a hold of this weapon, their damage would become extremely violent and horrifying. If I could create a hype over this grey giant axe, it would definitely be worth a lot of money. Shi Feng slightly smiled. He had a plan in his heart to make a load of money using the grey giant axe. Afterward, Shi Feng and Blackie returned to the smithy. Master Jack, I've killed the Kobold Chieftain. This is its skull. Shi Feng said respectfully as he took out a kobold's skull. Master Jack, who was currently hammering away on steel, glanced at the kobold skull. After he confirmed that Shi Feng had done it, he satisfyingly said, "Not bad, young man. It seems you do have the right to inherit my forging skills." System, Hidden Quest Road of Forging completed. Player has learned forging. Player has become a basic forging apprentice. Player has obtained the forging talent, Forging Genius. Rewarding 10 pieces of 100 refinement steel. Forging Genius. After a successful forging, there is a fixed chance to increase 2 proficiency points. 2 proficiency points were not to be looked down on. It should be known that a basic forging apprentice making a piece of common equipment only had a 20% success rate. After successfully making the equipment, there was a 40% chance to obtain 1 proficiency point. Now, however, Shi Feng had a chance to obtain 2 proficiency points as long American Samoa his forging was successful, increasing his efficiency for promotion to the next rank by several folds. Becoming an intermediate forging apprentice required 1000 proficiency points. An average player required more than 10 days, at the very least, to become one. Their supply of materials must also be continuous, as the horrifying rate of failure would waste large amounts of materials. With the forging talent, Shi Feng could now save a lot of materials, saving him quite the amount of money. On the other hand, 100 refinement steel was a good support material for making bronze equipment. It could increase the success rate of making a bronze equipment by 10%. With the forging talent and book of forging, Shi Feng couldn't help but wish to start forging equipment immediately. However, he needed materials if he wanted to forge equipment, and in a large amount as well. If he were to collect the materials himself, it would waste too much time. He could only purchase them in bulk. However, that required a lot of money. Not only that, making common equipment would not earn him any money, but instead cause him to lose it. Only bronze equipment could be sold for a good price, but that required forging designs that Shi Feng did not have. Deathly Forest is a must-go. Shi Feng thought about the bronze equipment forging design that could be obtained from within the Deathly Forest. The equipment that could be forged using the forging design was both cheap to make and had very good attributes. In his previous life, there were quite a few forgers who became rich because of that design. Just as Shi Feng turned around to leave. "Young man, you truly make me look differently at you. Even after so many years of forging weapons, it is still my first time seeing a magic weapon." Master Jack called out to Shi Feng. He had sent his gaze towards the pitch-black sword hanging around Shi Feng's waist. Even if the black sword was rusty and looked like a fire poker, it could not escape the eyes of a master forger. 20 Curse of the Abyssal Blade. Shi Feng was surprised when Master Jack stopped him. "Young man, are you willing to let me have a look at this sword?" Master Jack looked at Shi Feng with eyes filled with a burning desire. His tone was no longer indifferent, but instead a little whispered. Shi Feng was at a loss at Master Jack's sudden initiative request. However, it seemed logical after Shi Feng gave it some thought. The preciousness of a magic weapon, not to mention a famed sword forged by a master smith, went without saying. A famed sword was the lifelong pursuit of every master forger. They would definitely want to experience it after seeing one. Seeing Shi Feng hesitating, Master Jack quickly said, "You can be at ease. I only wish to see it, and I won't let it be for nothing. If you have any requests, do mention them." When Shi Feng heard this sentence, he became extremely excited. This was a master forger. Just by simply forging, he could create a piece of equipment of mysterious iron rank, secret silver rank even. His request was just to have a look at Shi Feng's sword. Shi Feng agreed without hesitation. He passed the abyssal blade over to Master Jack. NPCs couldn't steal items from players, so he was completely unworried whether or not Master Jack would do away with the abyssal blade. He would allow Master Jack to look at it however he wished afterward. Shi Feng would ask for a secret silver one-handed sword. By then, he would be able to fully display a swordsman's true strength. Master Jack held the abyssal blade that looked like a fire poker, both praising the delicateness of the blade and marveling at its strength. After looking at it for over 10 minutes, Master Jack unwillingly returned the abyssal blade to Shi Feng. "Young man, this is a good and infinitely powerful sword. However, the curse on this sword is extremely evil. The more you unleash the power of this sword, the stronger the curse will get. At the very end, its wielder will become trapped in the endless abyss. It will be too difficult if you wish to control this sword with your strength, and the curse will easily devour you," Master Jack earnestly cautioned. Shi Feng knew about this point. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hesitated for such a long time before binding the abyssal blade. "Master Jack, do you perhaps have any methods to weaken the curse?" Shi Feng asked. Although he knew some weakening methods, he did not have the ability to carry them out right now. "Young man, you should know that the master smith Ulysses forged this sword. There is only one of it in God's domain, and only one of the other 35 famed swords could match up to it. Many unimaginably terrifying existences were killed in order for these famed swords to possess unparalleled power. After death, these existences were sealed into each sword by master smiths. It was impossible to suppress these swords without extremely great power. Master Jack's tone was filled with unparalleled reverence, but he immediately smiled and said, "However, it isn't that there is no way to weaken the curse. May I ask what kind of method is there?" Shi Feng quickly asked. "If you wish to suppress a great power, you would need an equally great power to do so. The power sealed within the sword is a curse. If you wish to weaken it, you will need to have sufficiently great luck." Master Jack lamented, "In the continent of God's domain, some stones have gathered the luck of God's domain. These stones are named lucky stones. As long as you have a lucky stone, then you could counterbalance the curse. Although this piece of stone could be found throughout the whole continent, there are only a very few people who could obtain it. Even I have not seen it before. Trying to find one is truly too difficult. If you can find a piece of this stone, then I can help you weaken the curse on your sword." Seeing Shi Feng's slack expression, Master Jack shook his head in consolation, saying, "Young man, you have to know that the lucky stone is extremely rare. You shouldn't feel discouraged. It is normal not being able to find one. Only those who are blessed by God can obtain a lucky stone, and they are people that we cannot compare to. Master Jack, is it this piece of stone?" Shi Feng slightly smiled as he took out the dark green colored star crystal. "Right, this is a lucky stone." Master Jack nodded his head after seeing the dark green colored star crystal. However, he became stunned a moment later. He was looking at Shi Feng as if he were looking at a monster. Shi Feng shrugged his shoulders, indicating that it was nothing. Shi Feng had been sluggish before because he found out that Master Jack was able to use the lucky stone to suppress the abyssal blade. It should be known that there was quite a few master forgers in the Star Moon Kingdom. However, the number of master forgers capable of using a lucky stone to suppress the curse of a magic weapon could be counted on a single hand. Shi Feng had never thought that the Master Jack in front of him would be one of them. "Master Jack, can you weaken the curse now?" Shi Feng asked with anticipation. After a few moments, Master Jack finally recovered to his previous calmness. Pretending to be indifferent, he said, "Okay, no problem. I can finish it within half an hour." To the side, Blackie held onto his stomach as he tried his best not to laugh. However, Master Jack's stupefied expression was truly too much for Blackie. He had to run off into the forest before laughing loudly. Half an hour later, Shi Feng received the Abyssal Blade. He discovered some changes to the Abyssal Blade's introduction. The Abyssal Blade was personally created by Master Smith Ulysses, using the Black Dragon King's fangs as material. It is one of 36 famed swords, and it is ranked 31st. However, this sword has been cursed by the Black Dragon King. Aside from being able to provide the wielder with immense strength, there will be a backlash every so often. However, after being remodeled by Jack using a star crystal, the strength of the backlash has been greatly reduced. If the wielder is unable to suppress the backlash, then the wielder will receive the curse of the Black Dragon King, permanently reducing all attributes by 50%. Shi Feng's heart relaxed by a lot after seeing the description in this paragraph of words. At the very least, the backlash won't be too powerful in a short period of time. Shi Feng stored away the Abyssal Blade. Suddenly, he noticed a lot of messages that had been sent by Lonely Snow. All of the messages asked why Shi Feng had yet to arrive, and how much longer would he need to reach the Deathly Forest. "Blackie, let's go dive into a dungeon." Shi Feng sent a reply message stating that he would come immediately. Because of the issue with the Abyssal Blade, Shi Feng had completely forgotten about the appointed time. He let Lonely Snow wait more than half an hour. However, Shi Feng would make the appropriate compensations within the Deathly Forest. "Okay. I was just worrying that I won't have a chance to try out my new spells," Blackie said excitedly. When Shi Feng and Blackie arrived at the dungeon area of the Deathly Forest, the entire Deathly Forest was filled with people. Level 2 players were everywhere, and many players were forming parties to enter the dungeon. Open party for Deathly Forest, welcoming violent damage dealers, 4 waiting for 2. Effective party for Deathly Forest, we are just missing a powerful healer, guaranteed to clear. Seeing such a scene, Shi Feng shook his head slightly. He walked towards Lonely Snow who was waving his arm. In Shi Feng's previous life, the players had been stuck at the Deathly Forest for a long time. The dungeon was only cleared when the majority of players were level 5. "Brother Expert, you're finally here. Those friends of mine are already becoming impatient from waiting. Let us hurry." Lonely Snow was burning with anxiety when he saw Shi Feng leisurely walking over. Afterward, Lonely Snow brought Shi Feng and Blackie to the gathering point of the party. "Lonely, this is the expert you said? I thought he was a person with 3 heads and 6 arms, but it seems he's nothing more than this." The male cleric, Wordless Summer Night, saw Shi Feng wearing novice equipment. There was also a fire poker that hung around his waist, it looked as if it was some trash weapon he had randomly picked up. When Wordless Summer Night saw this, he couldn't help but ridicule. Brother Wordless, how could you say such things about Brother Expert? He is a dignified beta tester, so he definitely must have something extraordinary. Otherwise, how would he dare to take all equipment for swordsman and curse mancer? The shield warrior, battle to the end, stood to the side and sneered. The two of them had already felt displeasure for Shi Feng. This was because Shi Feng had wanted to take away all plate armor and mage equipment immediately after joining. Wouldn't they just be working away for nothing? If it were not for their boss wanting to have a look at Shi Feng, they would have long since invited other players and dove into the dungeon. Now that they saw Shi Feng in such poor equipment, they could criticize him and force him to leave. Lonely Snow wanted to retort as Shi Feng was someone he had personally invited. However, Shi Feng's equipment did not give Lonely Snow any chance to do so. He could only stare in silence. Alright, let's party up. A lot of people have already entered the Deathly Forest. If we don't dive in, we won't have a chance at competing for the first kill. As the party's leader, the handsome male ranger, waving slowly but surely interrupted as he said. Blackie wanted to argue back, but Shi Feng stopped him. Shi Feng thought nothing of the two people's ridicule. No matter what he said, he and Blackie had left them waiting for more than half an hour, so couldn't he just let them speak a few more sentences? Just as they finished partying up, the shield warrior furiously said, Crap, this noob is just level 1. He's just here to swindle equipment. Boss, Deathly Forest is a level 2 dungeon. If we let a level 1 noob enter the dungeon, aren't we just waiting to get wiped? Wordless Summer Night looked towards the ranger, waving slowly, showing his displeasure. Lonely Snow was equally shocked when he saw Shi Feng's level. It should be known that many players had already risen to level 2. How was it possible for a beta tester not to reach level 2? Boss waving slowly looked towards Shi Feng. Before this, he still had some hope for Shi Feng, but now it was all gone. He suddenly said in a cold tone, Did you die once before this? Nope. Shi Feng shook his head, honestly saying, However, entering Deathly Forest at level 1 is enough. Then you can go now. We don't need such an expert like you here. We hope you can understand. Waving slowly coldly said, his brows slightly wrinkled. Boss, this must be a misunderstanding. How about we try it out first? Lonely Snow explained. Try it out. Wordless Summer coldly laughed, then who will be responsible when we die? You should know that we still lose experience if we die in a dungeon. Although it is low, that is still 10%. Can this noob repay such a loss? Wordless, don't make it hard for Lonely. Waving slowly repeatedly said, Lonely, I know you are trying to cover for this swordsman, but I have to take responsibility for our party. I will only find veterans to enter the dungeon. I will not waste time partying up with a novice. You have two choices now, one is to follow us into the dungeon, two is to leave the party together with them. I will leave the party. Shi Feng did not want to embarrass Lonely Snow. He immediately left the party, turning to leave. Blackie, we'll party up with other people and enter the dungeon. Alright. Blackie smiled with a hee-hee, leaving the party without a second thought. Humph, humph. The expert's identity has been seen through. At least he has some self-awareness to leave after knowing he can't swindle equipment anymore. The shield warrior grinned and jeered, Lonely, you really are gullible. Such a noob would trick only you. You need to learn properly from boss waving slowly in the future. Lonely Snow's face turned livid after hearing this. However, he did not feel that he was mistaken, Shi Feng was definitely an expert. Boss waving slowly, sorry for this. Lonely Snow chose to leave the party. He was prepared to join Shi Feng in order to determine whether or not his judgment was correct. You. Waving slowly was immediately stunned. He never thought Lonely Snow would be so decisive. It was simply a foolish decision. He would have long since chased Lonely Snow away if it wasn't because he had good techniques. Wordless Summer Night looked towards Lonely Snow, saying with a cold smile, Lonely, you better not regret the choice you made. You'll regret when we clear the Deathly Forest and obtain great equipment. You'll regret it for 10 years, 20 years that you didn't follow boss waving slowly.